Recording. It's recording. All right, guys.
Yay.
Welcome to the Hard Way podcast. For the listeners,
Yeah.
I've got Jazmyn W and Chaz Carter, both comedians, content creators, hilarious people. Guys, I don't know if you've listened to the podcast before or know about it, but it's the hard way, learning things the hard way, learning from your mistakes. But I had paused it for a little a couple months into the pandemic just because I was like, I'm just not feeling it. Mental health wise, energy wise, whatever. Put it on hiatus, and then was like, hey, let me bring it back because it seems like there's actual important shit to talk about for this reason, you know. So, and I was hesitant at first because I'm like, wait, as like a white girl, is it my place to bring on Black voices and amplify them? But the consensus so far, the fact that you guys are here has been pretty okay. But if you feel otherwise, please feel free to tell me so. And other than that, like, there's no real rules today other than I just want to, share your guys' art, share your stories. Jazmyn, I know you've been doing a lot of hilarious videos of Karen's behavioral therapy, which I've been finding super fucking funny. So
Yes.
maybe you have some
Likewise.
insight into that and why you need to share that, because clearly it's happened to you enough that you're like, people need to be taught here. So I was asking Chaz before he got here how you're doing, how he was doing, and we're realizing that's such a loaded fucking question these days because everybody's doing pretty terrible. So generally, how are you doing?
For me, I'd say I'm doing okay. I don't want to I feel like I sound sometimes like a lame white woman when people ask me how I'm doing, because I'm like, in comparison to some people that I know are really going through it, I think I'm doing really good. Like, I'm doing fantastic. What do I have to complain about? I'm not sick. You know what I mean? I already quit my job before in August, so it ain't like I had a job that I lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've been just trying to make the best out of being a comedian at home. So, it's not the greatest, but because, we can't get on stage or whatever. But other than that, like, I think I'm doing fine. I'm healthy. So,
Yeah. And Chaz, I won't ask you again because you're quote unquote okay, but shit's tough out there. How are you guys feeling with everything that's going on right now in the world as far as this whole political revolution we've got going on?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's like it's great, but it's also kind of like, damn. And then it's also kind of like, this sucks.
Yeah.
So there's so many different levels to the moods. Like, it's great that people are finally feeling like, you know what, let me stand up and let me stop being quiet and pretending like I don't see anything. But then it's also like, damn, you just now gonna say something?
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like you like Jazmyn just said, yeah, like it's amazing to be in this period where we are seeing such dramatic change in certain areas of our lives because of everything going on. But at the same time, it's like it can be really frustrating and a little discouraging when you see that so many people, particularly white people, required so much heavy evidence in order to be swayed or convinced when this has been going on for so many years. It's like, this has been happening in front of you guys' face for so many years. And it's just, it can be a little frustrating at times when you see posts or you come across things online where people are like, oh, I just can't believe what the way America is. Oh my God, this is terrible. This is not the America I know. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You're like, this has been it. Yeah.
What fucking, like, it's almost like we both live in some like parallel Marvel universe where racism doesn't happen in their world, and so they're just, kind of like
right. And it's easy, because like, as a white person, you're right. And it's one of those things where I've always been, thought of myself as an ally, but it's like, sure, if it's easy for me to forget and move on, with the cycles, and like I can imagine, and I've been hearing just doing these podcasts, people saying like, yeah, this is all good and well, but I don't necessarily think this is it, or this is going to make that big of a difference, because people are going to forget and people are going to move on, because we're still mad about, Philando Castile from years ago, and like everybody kind of forgot about that. And now just because there's like new evidence right in front of your face doesn't mean it hasn't been going on, and it doesn't mean that like these like symbols of, painting Black Lives Matter on the ground are going to actually fix anything. So, it's got to be discouraging and kind of annoying to see people just kind of like jumping on the bandwagon, and also kind of already seeing some of the steam being let out of stuff. Yeah. So I don't know, like, if you guys, like, how you grew up in a way where you learned early on, how to like act a certain way or act differently. Because one of the things that I've talked about a lot with people, and maybe you guys have examples of this, is just going out of your way to make, to like silence yourself more or make white people more comfortable, and like how often that happens for you. Is that like a big thing that you guys have dealt with?
I'll let you go, Jazz. I'll ladies first.
Okay. I mean, to me, absolutely. That's like the only way. It's like, what? Like, I have a joke that I kind of threw away, but I posted it on my Instagram a while ago, and it says, and it talks about how I started watching Friends in high school, and I didn't like Friends, right? Like I didn't. Who likes that show for real? Like that show's not that good, but I watched it because I was in honors classes, and I went to like my high school was 13% Black anyway, and this is just starting at high school. There's moments way before high school where you start, to kind of like code switch and assimilate and figure out what can I do to fit in a little bit more. But it's like the Friends example just stood out to me so much. It's like I started watching that show so that I would have things in common with other white people in class. It's not because I ever laughed at the show. It's not, I'd much rather watch Martin, but I can't talk to, Samantha about Martin because she didn't even know what that is. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like this thing where I would talk to my Black friends at school about Martin. Did you watch Martin? Did you? And then, it's like, oh my God, did you see Friends last night? That was what Phoebe said. It's like, I don't even care about or laugh at what Phoebe said, but I started to learn that is that's how I'm going to make conversation. And that's how I'm going to get to know people in my class and fit in. Right. You know what I mean? So it's just, that's like, to me, a very funny example of,
and it's funny
trying to fit in.
That you mentioned that about Friends, because it's like I used to love Friends growing up too.
I'm sure you did, girl.
Yeah. but like looking back on it, it's like it's not one of those like rewatchable where I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, this is still a hilarious show. I'm like, oh no, this does not stand the test of time. Like I would have thought it would. And thinking back to it, I'm like trying to think of like when there was a Black person in it. And it was
Aisha Tyler.
And that was like way later. Yeah. It was like one of the final seasons. Like suddenly there's a Black person there. It's like that's pretty fucking crazy when you think about it. Yeah.
It's insane. And then the thing was like they made such a big deal about it, which was in hindsight kind of like a racist thing to do. They were like, look. They're like, here's a Black girlfriend, y'all. Look. It was like, what? Why is it such an announcement versus just being a matter of fact?
Right.
That's what made it so like troubling in the later years when you go back and you rewatch the episodes where Aisha Tyler's character was on there. It was a very heavy-handed thing. It was like, it wasn't just he was dating a girl who just so happened to be Black. They were like, no, it's his girlfriend. She's Black. Did you see? Did you hear the good news? He's dating a Black girl.
Did you hear the good news? It's like,
it was so heavy-handed. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
and I wonder where that comes from, like that early on, because like now we have like Twitter and like quote unquote cancel culture, like calling people out, and they're like, okay, now we'll slip in some Black people, but it's like, what made them be like called out back then. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Who the hell
I
knows?
think it's probably pressure from, the network. It's like, oh my God, did you just get wind that they haven't had a Black person on in like the 9 years that they've been on? We should probably get somebody on quick. Like, and I was watching an interview the other day, Sherry Shepherd. Was it Sherry Shepherd? Oh man, sorry. Now I have to look it up. I don't want to say the wrong female comedian, because that's like, I don't think it was Sherry Shepherd. Or was it? But anyway, one of the female comedians was on Friends, and she was like one of the first Black characters. She was like on maybe like an episode or two. And she was talking about how she was never called back because she sent, it was Sherry Shepherd. She sent a thank you note to the producers and like the people who casted her. And she said, and it said, finally, Friends got some color. And she said nobody ever replied to her. She never got called back to do a reoccurring thing. She said she thinks she kind of offended them, like that kind of thing. So I thought it was just a funny thing to bring up, because she said she was one of 2 or 3 Black women to ever be on the show, or Black people to ever be on the show and have like a real role. So.
And then she offended them by just acknowledging
by acknowledging the problem. She acknowledged the problem and therefore offended them. It's
oh my God. And then
baffling.
they totally fucked that up, because that was their opportunity to be like, you're right, we sucked, and
exactly.
Now we stood up, but instead it backfired, and they just decided to pretend it never happened. Oh my God.
Yeah, and I feel like therein lies a lot of the big issue that a lot of Black people have with this current change of climate going on, is that we're constantly having these like sudden sweeps of change and dramatic things to keep us happy without ever addressing the real issues.
Right.
And it just becomes this cycle throughout each decade where like we're being brutalized and all these terrible things are happening to us. And instead of us getting to the root of the problem that we keep screaming at this point, like at the top of our lungs about, it's like, oh, well, we're not going to fix that. We're not going to fix the systemic racism. We're not going to fix the prison system. We're not going to fix police murdering with reckless abandon. We're not going to fix any of that. But we are going to tell white voice actors to step down from Black characters that they have done for the last 20 years. How does that feel? Or we're going to paint Black Lives Matter on a giant street. Is that better? It's like, no, these are not. None of these things are going to stop a cop from beating the fuck out of me if he deems so, So I think that's where a lot of the pent up anger and the frustration and everything that's reached such a boiling point has gotten to that, because it's like we've gotten over the years, our previous, older relatives, we've all been conditioned to be coddled into submission, so to speak. Like when terrible things happen, they coddle us with all these little cool incentives, and then we're like, okay, I guess that's fine. And then like another few years will pass, and then something else terrible will happen, and it's like something has to give. It's like really,
and it makes sense, because it ends up coming off like just even like you mentioned, the voice actors stepping down. Like I think I mentioned it on an earlier pod too, is that this girl Alice Hamilton tweeted and was like, hey, maybe you wouldn't have to fire the white actors from under Black voices if you let Black voice actors voice white people. Just like if it's a cartoon, it's a cartoon, but like, it's this sort of thing where it's like you're given this sort of settle for less, token. Here you go. Like you're supposed to feel better. And like that's a big trend that everybody is talking about, to me, is that like false symbolism. Like, okay, you had a Black president, racism is over, Black Lives Matter is on the street, racism is over. But it's like, no, you have to acknowledge the whole the system itself that's fucked up underneath it, because these are just false symbols of change that really aren't doing anything. And that's like the really big issue that I don't know how or what is actually going to change, because that involves all of these people admitting they've been wrong for this whole fucking time, and that the whole system of the police was essentially like slave catchers to begin with, you know, and that's heavy layers of having to dismantle that are super fucking necessary. And I could see how it's discouraging and insulting to see all these other fucking symbols pop up and you're like, no, that's not what we want. Like somebody tweeted the other day, like they're like, oh, Black Lives Matter's going in front of Trump Tower, and they're like, all we want is for you to arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor, and you're fucking painting the street instead, you know. But it's fucked up, and I know that I've benefited from it, and I wish that I could do more for it, and anytime I can I will try to, but it's just like very alarming to me, and I can't imagine how you guys feel seeing how much like overt racism and like comfort people are in doing it. Like they say the Karens are out there and they're just screaming the fucking N-word in videos, or like pull that lady that pulled the gun on and I'm just like, holy shit, watching that lady, like, and how heated she was. Forget the fact that everybody says that I look like her, which I'm like, please. everybody like Quincy Johnson.
The lady who pulled the gun?
Yeah. Like Quincy Johnson's like, you better be doing a sketch on this. You look just like her. And like 3 people messaged me and were like, it's you.
I don't think so.
Thank you,
I don't
Jazmyn.
think so
Thank you. But just like how angry she was, and like I was like, if I was the woman holding the camera, like I would have not been able to be holding that fucking camera, because that was so fucking scary. And like, you don't know where it's gonna go. Like, how is this video gonna end? You know what I mean?
You know what's interesting about that? I had a couple of people, Black people even, message me and say that she was maybe right for pulling out the gun or something like that, because the Black woman and her daughters were very intimidating. And they said, watch the whole video. Did you watch the whole video? Did you make sure you post the whole video and not that? And I watched the whole video. And I understand that it is intimidating maybe when, first of all, you with a grown man. So I don't know how you're not feeling protected with you or there with your dad or whoever that was, right? But I understand maybe 3 Black women coming at you and you know they can absolutely beat your ass. Maybe that is intimidating, okay?
Yeah.
But one thing I said is people who are professional fighters are trained to de-escalate the situation, right? So if your hands are a weapon and you're trained to de-escalate, then if you have a gun, you should be using the same sort of concepts to make sure that you're not pulling a gun out on people who don't have a weapon, who maybe are just yelling and screaming at you and aren't doing it. You know, like and at one point she got into the car. And then she gets out of the car with the gun. Girl, you are already safe.
Yeah. No, because I saw at first, like I saw the only the second half, right, where she's already out with the gun, and then I saw the whole video, and I still didn't think that her reaction was justified, despite like how, because she in the beginning was still like, no, I care about you, I'm not racist, like through the window. But like you said, she's already in the fucking car. So at what point is she like, you know what? Time to bring my gun out on these people.
Right.
Don't have a gun. It's like, you fight fire with fire. She does not have a gun. You're being a little bitch. Like, fucking go away. If everything you said leading up to this is true, then go away, or
drive off.
Yeah, or fight if that's what you want to do. But like, don't be whipping out a gun all fucking psychotic. Like, cause that shit was, that's not okay.
It's just
And I also like to the whole like Karen's thing, and I wonder what your thoughts are on this, because that actually was something like, I feel like every day I'm learning something where I'm like, I thought I knew and I learned, and then I'm like, no, you're still stupid, because you like didn't think of it from that perspective, where it's like somebody tweeted that like Karen was originally like a Black Twitter term for like annoying white ladies, like that want to speak to the manager, right? And now it's like been taken on by white people and morphed into every white woman doing something insane as a Karen now, where it's like that lady with the gun is not like, it seems like she needs her own level,
own category.
Like, that's not a fucking Karen. Like a Karen is like, let me speak to the manager. This lady is like, I'm gonna fucking kill you because I'm scared of you. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. That was insane. She was, as far as I could, from what I saw in the video, that Yeah, no, she wasn't a Karen. She was a full blown fucking terrorist
Yeah.
with a gun. Just like, yeah,
Can
completely
you close that door, babe?
took that situation to a level
Because
it
the
didn't need to
TV's
go.
going.
Yeah, totally different level. But like,
Yeah.
I can't believe like what we're still seeing and everything that's going on. And I mean, our president, obviously, I'm not, I don't know. I don't want to assume anybody's politics, but can I assume that you're not a Trump supporter?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a safe
Oh,
assumption.
I was about to say, Chaz, what's your stance on this,
Yeah.
brother? He hesitated.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Come on.
no.
Um,
Oh God,
I,
no,
I'm just still floored that there's still people denying like racism in general, out there. But
Oh, yeah.
what are your guys' thoughts on
yeah.
Kanye's announcement for his presidency? What do you think that's about? Because I've seen mixed reviews from everybody about like
Yeah.
him being like, just kidding, I never really liked Trump. I was just using him. And then now it's like all of a sudden he announces presidency, and I have my own theories. But what do you guys think about that? Because I see a lot of people being like, I'll vote for him. And I'm like, no, please don't vote for Kanye. He's bipolar. But what do you think, guys?
Chaz, you want to go? I really want to know what you think. I really want to know what you think
I,
first.
it's like I feel like since I found out, I've been like straddling the fence between thinking that maybe he is just crazy enough to just like play the system, because I mean, hell, we fucking ended up with a reality star as president. All bets are off. Some
Yeah.
people are like, I've heard people say to me like, oh no, that's fucking crazy. He could never. I'm like, there are 4 years of presidency that says otherwise.
Yeah.
What do you mean he could never? I highly doubt you. I don't know, man. You don't know. All bets are off. 2020, if there's anything this year has proven, there's no such thing as never. Okay,
Yeah.
so never fucking say never.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I also feel like, while his intentions may seem good in certain aspects, he is somewhat of a megalomaniac.
Mm-hmm.
And he sometimes, I feel like, tends to say things and like say sensational things in the moment. I feel like, I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if months from now he was just like, I'm just fucking with y'all, I'm just playing.
Right.
Like I'm literally taking what he said with a grain of salt until I see some sort of like presidential campaign being put together. Yeah, I'm not sitting here like, it's funny because like people heard it and then immediately were like, oh my God, that's crazy, how's he gonna do it? I'm like, you guys,
well, you can always still like write in a name too, as like for president,
right,
which I'm like, please don't write in the name, because that's just gonna like waste the vote, is what I think.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like people tend to forget that this guy is a whole clinically diagnosed bipolar guy. So
Yeah.
it's like when I have family and friends who are diagnosed bipolar, and it's like you can kind of tell when someone's having a bit of a manic episode, and I feel like with him, it's like whenever he says things like that, I just don't take it at face value initially. I'm just always like, oh, okay, cool. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'll start to believe you when there's a campaign put together and I see Kim wearing something a little more,
Yeah.
Covered. She's been covering up.
She has been.
She's
A little
practicing.
Yeah, and I'm not shaming her. I'm just saying, like I just, when I have to see certain steps being taken before I jump on this bandwagon of like, I'm gonna vote for, oh shit, Kanye, I'm gonna vote for him. Right now, I'm just kind of like taking everything he says not at face value. That's just kind of where I sit with that right now.
Yeah.
Well, I would never ever in my whole life vote for Kanye. I don't care if he came out, he was taking his meds. I don't care if he lost the baby weight and he looked clean shaven and all of that and was talking like he had some sense. I would never vote for Kanye.
Yes. Yeah.
He's missed the deadline in multiple states. I don't even know why we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And also, well, the last thing I'll say is Kanye actually hasn't even spoken in public in a really long time. Like, when's the last time the last interview we saw Kanye that was on camera was with Charlemagne the God, and this was months ago. He doesn't even like to be in public speaking. So I think it's ridiculous to think he's going to come in front of us every single day and give us an update on what's popping, because he doesn't even like to do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that I don't think this is a real thing.
Yeah. No,
I think he's like I said, I think he's just having a bit of a manic episode.
Yeah, totally. And I don't think like you said, like he's missed the deadline in a lot of states. The danger that I see in it, other than everything that you guys have said, the bipolar, the fact that he wouldn't go up in front of everybody, like, cause like Trump likes to be in front of people and talking and blah, 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 but is just like, for one, like, let's say, for argument's sake, that he could be on the ballots and whatever. It's like he's not progressive, like he's not pro-choice, he's not. He's like God is part of it, and I'm like, to me, when you start mixing religion into the fucking politics, that's a big problem for me, because he's not going to be a fan of the gays. He's not on any of the any of the like measures that we want to accomplish. Like he's already not on those. He's a Republican.
No.
And
100%.
So to me, the only thing I see is the danger of people being like, fuck the system, because we don't have a good choice either way, because we've got basically two sexual predators to choose from in a very racist system. So both sides are fucked, and the fact that we only have two choices. Allegedly, yeah. So I only have like two choices. It's like, to me, it's like people are going to take it and run with it and write his damn name in like a bunch of assholes. And then we're going to end up with 4 more years of Trump. So I'm like, if only you would have just not tweeted that. 2020, like a percentage of a percent better, maybe. But it seems like so far away at this point that, I don't know, maybe we'll get hit with a meteor by then. I don't know. Maybe it'll all be over.
Yeah, one can only hope. It's just also too, it's like, what would be, to me, scary about the idea of that even being entertained is that religion, in my opinion, I mean, shit, I'm gay, so people are already trying to burn me at the stake. So I'm just going to say this. Like, religion, I mean, whatever. I just feel like religion is already playing such a huge role in why this country is where it is right now, because we, with Trump being ushered in and being so heavily and allowing himself to be so heavily influenced by racist, homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, fucking evangelical Christians with money and all, and influence, and like them being in this man's ear is part of the huge problem why we are where we are.
Right.
So it's like, I can't even fathom the idea of, and I don't even, of another individual being swayed so easily by the power of the terrible influential power of religion.
Right.
When it, you know what I'm saying? And also like Jazmyn was saying earlier, like, if he's on or off his meds, it's like, that's something to worry about.
Yeah.
It's just like, he could be having a bad day and fuck around and sign an executive order and put us all in, like, who knows?
Yeah.
So those are things like, it's like, yeah, we're joking about it, but like, that's not something I really want to entertain. I would, in the perfect world, we would want a competent leader, but I mean, it's just kind of drawing between two creepy uncles.
Yeah.
And so I know it's just like, this has got to be, and every time I think about it, it just makes me even more sad. It's like, I thought 2020 was already terrible as it is, but to think that we still have an entire presidential election to get through.
I'm like, do you think that we're even going to be able to have one? Like, the fact that they're not letting people do, mail-in voting, and they're suppressing voting, which we know that they always do, but just like watching them do that. I can't remember which state it was. I'm bad at that. I want to say it was in Minnesota, but where they were all like banging on the fucking the doors to get in, because like 6 p.m. hit and they locked it, but it's like they had taken away 1,000 of their polling locations. I'm like, what kind of fuck shit are we dealing with? That
and like, they closed that polling station early. They closed it early. What?
But they do that on purpose, and it's like I cannot even wrap my head around a way of us not getting fucked over because they just do that. They just do whatever. And then what are we supposed to do? We just deal with it. Like, even the votes that we make, are they going to count them right? We don't fucking know. Like, it's terrifying. Like, and we've got the biggest dumbass in the presidency right now. People still support him despite like the fucking racist, crazy shit he posts all the time. Like, you don't see him like retweeting police brutality, but he retweets like one black guy beating up a white guy, and it's like, what the fuck is this? And I just can't. And the religion thing, I'm not religious. To me, it's like, we wouldn't have so many wars if it weren't about people fighting over who's God,
right?
And it's like, I'm sorry, like I've never been religious, and mostly got even more not religious when I went to Catholic high school, because everything was like, you're going to hell. And I'm like, if there is a God, they're not that mean, because like, it's like,
Right.
if they made everybody, then they made the gays, they made the trans people, they made everything, like, so fuck that shit.
Yeah. I grew up very religious. A lot of my family, like hardcore Christians. And, whenever I have a difference of opinion for family members now, I think about my mom, right? Like, no matter what I do, my mom's going to accept me. Like, literally, no matter what I choose, I have the type of mom that would accept me. So I would imagine whoever created us has a greater love for us than my mom has for me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So how there's nothing that I can do to make my mom be like, no, you're going to hell. Like, no, she's like, no, I love you regardless, period. Now, some of y'all have bad moms, so maybe you might be able to imagine that. But that's how I would imagine God, or, source or spirit, whatever you want to call it. Like, that is how much forgiveness there is. So I don't understand why people really feel like, no, if you abort your baby, you're going to be like, just give us the option to live our lives so that we can do what's best for us.
But that sounds like you also come from like a Christian family that like acts like Christians, because like in theory, it's good. Like, I know people that are religious, like that are really nice, great Christian people, and they aren't judgmental, and they've modified their thinking to the times. They're not just like going back to the book and being like, no, well, it says here that you can't do this, so that means you're going to hell. And it's like the most like Christian quote unquote people are doing the most fucked up shit, that it's
crazy.
Like,
oh my,
how can you call yourself that if you're super racist? Like
it's
like the churches that have like the fucking, what is it, the marquees that are like anti-gay and anti-this, and then you see like little pockets of good like churches where they're like, everyone's welcome here, but it's like, it shouldn't be the minority of that.
I like Jazmyn, I was raised in a very religious family. I was raised Southern Baptist. And so I went to church like 3 times a week. I was in Bible study. I went to a lot of church growing up. And so growing up, not necessarily in the church that I grew up in, but other churches that we would often go to, it's just what kind of like started the unbreaking for me, between the difference between spirituality and religion for me, because I do believe in God, and I do believe in the universe working in tangent to give you or position you in life and take you on the path you're meant to have. But at the same time, because I am more spiritual, I don't believe that God is a man.
Yeah,
that part.
I believe God. I don't believe God is a man. I believe God. If God, in my opinion, if God is an omnipotent being, all powerful, all knowing, he's not going to be reduced to a sex.
Yeah, there's not going to be a gender. There's not going to,
No, he's not going to be a gender. He's going to be more of a being. Like, I imagine, God being all around us, the air we breathe, the sky we see, the sun in front, and I just feel like growing up and going to church a lot, you often hear these people who hide under the guise of being a Christian, using all these inflammatory remarks and saying very homophobic things and saying very xenophobic things. And growing up in the church was a huge part of the reason why I was so closeted until my early 20s.
Yeah.
Is that
Because
what
when you grow
it
up,
took you a long time to, because of that? Because you're reading in the text that it's, I can imagine.
you're reading in the text, you're hearing Christians tell you that, you know, like people were gay or wrong. And I had an older gay cousin who nobody in my family acknowledged that she was gay for many years. It was like, it was always your cousin and her little friend. It was never like,
that's a black
it was,
people thing.
so yeah, that's definitely a black family thing. But it was just, the point of that was that it was just things of that nature kind of set up these mental blocks for me as a youth.
Yeah.
To like put me in a zone where I just wasn't comfortable, because I was under the assumption that, like, damn, if I tell people that I'm experiencing this life altering thing in me, then I'm going to be damned to hell. And I'm not going to be, you know, I'm not a good person, and I'm not da 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 da. And just seeing the way this country has gotten to a point where we are where we are because of a lot of stuff has to do with all of these Christians hiding behind the guise of the Bible and using that to be hateful and do really fucked up shit and be it's like, how are you going to be racist and be a Christian? Like, where is it saying hate black people in the Bible? Like, I don't remember. Do you remember a section in the Bible, Jazmyn, about, you know, I'm like, it's like, it just, that's why I just like, I just feel like it's just,
it's just like that form, it's like that form of, that form of control. And like, to me, like the whole like religious structure itself comes from trying to explain things that you don't understand. And like, you know, back in the day, people weren't openly gay. People weren't openly not identifying with their gender, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, it's not like these are new things that suddenly people are deciding to do. It's just like now, like, it's getting easier, even though it's still difficult to talk about. And it's like, sorry that the people that wrote this didn't know that yet, but like, this is the case. And like, people are so afraid of things they don't understand that they're like, well, then that must be bad and wrong. And like, I can imagine you don't want to be like, they're saying this is bad, I'm not going to say it out loud, because what if they send you to some sort of like conversion camp or some shit? But yeah, like, and I agree with
luckily
you
for me
about go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, luckily for me, when I came out to like my siblings and my mom, they were like, so
that's
my
awesome.
mom was like, very,
I thought you were gonna say they were like, we know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, my siblings knew. My siblings definitely knew. My mom, she was like, I had a feeling, but I was just like waiting on you to tell me. And I was like, and it just, it was such a like liberating, like weight off my shoulders sort of thing, because I spent so many years in my teens being so afraid of like what would happen. And I had been, and also too, in a weird way, that kind of played into my own rush to judgment, because I assumed, because my mom was a Christian, that she would be that type of Christian.
Right.
And she wasn't. So I also learned a lesson from that, that not all Christians are terrible, you know, hate mongering people, you know, like my mom's proof of that. And so that was a lesson I learned too, is that like, you know, damn, maybe if I had told my mom in my teens, she, you know, I would have been, I could have had a boyfriend at prom. Who knows? I don't know. You know, like
but you're like you said, you don't know until you say something. But like I can't even imagine what that's like. You know, unless like at some point maybe. I've always thought, you know, it's because people like suppress things, and I'm like, I've tested it out. Like when I was in college, I was like, oh, I'll make out with some girls, but I never got that tingle where I'm like, I want to go further. You know, so to me in my head, I'm like, if I don't want to go down on a girl, probably not gay. So it's like not my thing. And I don't.
That's why I totally believe. I totally not like. I'm like so straight. That's why when somebody tells me that they're gay, I'm like, you've been gay your whole life. I've been knowing I was straight. When I was in the second grade, I had a gay friend, Tiffany. I knew she never tried to kiss me. I just knew she was gay because we just know at that age. And I knew that I did not like girls and was never going to kiss a girl or like a girl. Yeah. And I knew that she probably was at some point because that's who she was or whatever. But that's why when people tell me, oh, well, no, you're not born gay. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because I was so sure that I wasn't gay when I was a kid, and I knew what that was, you know?
But like, there's some people that suppress it. And so I'm like, hey, I wonder if there's going to be one day where I'm like, suddenly unlock all these memories. And I'm like, actually, you're very gay, but I doubt it. Cause like you said, like, since I was younger, I always liked boys and I never really looked at girls like that. But yeah,
I thought about it, but no.
You're like, You're like, I can acknowledge you're cute, but other than that, no. But yeah, the whole religion mixed with that sort of thing. I'm glad that when you came out to your family that it worked out well, because I can't even imagine what that would be like if it went the other way.
Because you hear and you see so many horror stories, and it's scary. It's scary because, like you said, a lot of people, they fear what they don't understand, and instead of choosing to educate themselves on it so that way they could possibly gain a better understanding while gaining a closer relationship with that family member, they choose to go in the exact opposite direction and make that family member feel ostracized and like a castaway, or like they're broken or something's wrong with them. And it's like, no.
I have a question for you, Jessica, because you said, okay, we know you white and we know that your parents put you into Catholic school. What is your family like when it comes to like racism, and like how are they adapting to everything that's going on?
Well, it's been interesting. Like I was not raised with religion at all, like to the point like of stupidity, because I didn't even think Christmas was related to religion until like way later in life, and I was like, oh, okay, it all kind of makes sense. I don't know why, but because I grew up in Curacao, which is like Dutch Caribbean, and we had like Sinterklaas, and like it was like a whole different like holiday over there, and so there was no real like discussion of religion. And the only reason I went to Catholic high school is because it was like a private high school, and it was a good like college prep school, so that was like my real introduction to religion. And other than like, with the exception of maybe on holidays, like they'd be like, everybody say grace or something, and I never believed in God, and I was always like a huge atheist until bees started chasing me whenever I wasn't dealing with problems. And that's when I was like, the universe is smart. There's something going on. There's like a connectivity to the universe, but I still wouldn't call it a man in the sky, but there's never been like a religious lining in my family of like, this is why you're racist, or this is why you should feel like this about gay people or black people. And like, I grew up coming from another country around a bunch of different cultures, and my dad speaks a bunch of languages, but that doesn't mean he's not racist, and that doesn't mean there isn't racism. Like, I think my mom has always been very tolerant and has raised me to be the way that I am, which is, I'm very open. I'm not anti-gay. I'm pro-choice. I love black people. Like, I've never like really thought that was an issue until we get to like these times where now you have to like speak out or be quiet or argue with your family. And so right now, what I'm noticing is like, my mom is basically same page as me, like the system is fucked up, we need change, that sort of thing, but not necessarily super vocal about it outwardly. And the same goes for my brother's wife and my sister, my stepsister. It's like the women get it, and then the men do not. So like, I'm not on speaking terms with my brother because I tried to have this conversation with him, because you're like, oh, you can't just like not have these conversations with your family as a white person. You have to try and like tell them, and teach them if they don't know, if they're ignorant, if they don't understand. But like, it's been really tough with my brother because seems to be falling into that whole defense mechanism. I'm not privileged. Just because I'm white, I contributed. I'm like, yeah, you contributed by being too privileged to have to notice until until now. That's your fucking privilege. And you just have to admit that it's not your fault, maybe, but it's your fault if you don't do anything about it. So we've gotten into these like arguments because he ends up being like, I'm not a racist, I'm not this, I'm not that. I think George Floyd deserves justice, Breonna Taylor, but then at the same point, like, he wouldn't speak out about it, and he's still defensive and saying, oh, well, so then all cops are bad, all white people are terrible, and all black people are like amazing. And I'm like, wow, like, that's like not
what we saying.
Not what it's saying, exactly. So I'm just like, it's tough and frustrating. And I am of the position that, like, I think that most of my life we didn't really have to talk about it unless it came up, like in the situation. Like, I have like one specific memory where I realized my stepdad was homophobic, and that was when we were at like Carrabba's Italian Grill or something, and the waiter was like pretty flamboyant, acting, and I remember my stepdad being like, ugh, why did they have to act that way? Why do they have to like overact so much? And I'm like, maybe that's just his personality. Did you ever think of that? Like, that's just the way he talks. That's the way he acts. Like, what's your problem? Maybe you're a little gay. Did you ever think about that? Maybe you're a little in denial of wanting to.
How free he is.
Yeah, because he's very just so, and very him and my brother are opposite of me ideologically on like every single level. They wouldn't but they'd be an all lives matter type. They wouldn't be a Black Lives Matter type. And like, I do not stand with that, because I think that's fucked up, So to me, I'm in the position where I'm like, I can't go be around these people, because I know that I'm going to get kicked out of the house within, 24 hours of arguing with them. Like any other time in the past, like when any of these conversations, whether it was like a pro-choice argument or gays getting married argument, and I was like the Lone Ranger standing up for it, like even if my mom agreed with it, wouldn't say anything. And I'm like, if you're not saying anything, right, you're not backing me up, you're siding with them, and
right.
It's always been an issue with my family that like I've been like the lone wolf that like moved farther and farther away for those exact reasons. But now it's bubbling up to the point where it's like, well, now we can't even speak. So no fucking way I'm coming home for Christmas, because that's not going to be a fun time at all. I wish that like I could get through to them more and have them see. Because what I am met with a lot of the time is like, show me statistics. I want to see numbers that say the cops killed more Black people. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, the statistics you're looking at come from the cops. So they're bullshit. And second of all, like, I don't care about numbers. I'm looking at names of people. Like, there's so many names of people that are being said and are like, if you've driven what's that big lake, it's on Silver Lake Boulevard or whatever, and you drive past that big lake, the whole fence has names going all across it of just Black people innocently killed by police, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna find one, because even if I find a statistic, you're gonna find the way to discredit it and say that it's biased towards your agenda. So I'm like, if you can't just acknowledge that these are people and not numbers, then I can't help you, and so that it comes to a standstill of like, well, then you can go fuck yourself. And I wish that wasn't the case, but that's kind of where I'm at with my family right now, is not talking.
Well, I don't know about Chaz, but one thing that I always say, because I've had a couple of like, I've had a white woman tell me, oh, I don't talk to my parents because they voted for Trump. And it sounds like, maybe your brother and your dad, they believe all lives matter and stuff like that. And one thing that I personally believe, and I'd like to get across necessarily to white people too, is that you don't necessarily like, I think that the Black Lives Matter movement and people of color, Black people, we want people to speak up. You know what I mean? We want people to be able to speak up and like have our back. We're not asking you to disown your family, because that's who they are. You know what I mean? So if you really cannot take the fact that your family is an all lives matter family and you want to disown them, that's fine. But I will say that standing up for Black people is not about abandoning your family who you love. It's just like about saying what you have to say, agreeing to disagree, maybe not bringing up those subjects. And then maybe when you, or if you decide to have kids, for people out there, not say, don't talk to my kids about this.
Yeah, don't give
visit.
them the information. Yeah.
Maybe they don't stay the night. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
stuff like that. But I told my friend, she was like, and this was like 2 years ago, she's like, oh, I disowned my family because they voted for Trump. And I was like, when your dad voted for Trump, you just found out he was racist? Like, don't tell me that was the first time you found out. You knew because you grew up with this person. Like, my dad can't really tell me anything about himself that I don't already know. You know what I mean? So, and sometimes, you know, I have family members I disagree with. I disagreed with one of my family members the other day on trans and what that means, and, you know, accepting a trans person. And I decided, you know, I probably won't talk to them again, but I didn't like them anyway. If it was a cousin that I really, really liked, I might say, you know what, we're never ever going to talk about this ever again. Let's just not ever talk about it. But when you cooking some macaroni and cheese, I might still be able to swing by your house. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's just one thing that I would say as a woman of color to, you know.
Well, I'm not like disowning them on a level of like for Black people. It's like it's also like selfishly like for my mental health, because I'm like, I can't
that
like,
part.
I don't know how to speak to you, and like it's becoming like a violent conversation. We can't we have to like let it simmer. Like obviously I love my brother, I love my family, but there's still like and there's also many layers where it would be great if they were the type of family, like, or at least my stepdad and my brother, that just wouldn't brush the topics, but for some reason they're always the ones bringing it up, you know, to show me that I'm wrong. And so like those are the reasons why I'd be like, I'm not coming, because I know that if they're gonna do it, because I'll try to be like diplomatic, like let's not talk about it, but it just will not happen, you know, because they'll do it with me with like women's issues too, and I've been like, we're not talking for 3 months until like we've calmed down and can
I feel you.
talk about like the regular stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. I just feel like I had to get that out there because I hear that a lot, and I have to tell people. And sometimes people are shocked by me saying, continue to hang out with your parents or whatever. Just know that they are like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I was still, to your point though, about like, you didn't know they were racist when they voted for Trump. Like, I still thought that they realized how stupid he was, just in general as a person. So that I was just shocked that they like, you know, didn't think he was an idiot. You know what I mean? Like they were like, this will work, you know? I was definitely shocked by that. Not by my brother necessarily, because I feel like just to spite me, he picks everything that I like and like chooses the opposite. That's just a theory that I have. But yeah, because he married somebody that like thinks just like me. So I'm like, why'd you pick a wife that's the opposite? Because you like to argue, apparently. I don't know. Yeah, it's but that's like
how did you pick a wife just like you?
And to your another thing, Jazmyn, and I'll ask both of you if there's more things you want to say, because one of the things that like I've heard a lot is like, I don't want to teach white people how to not be racist. Like if people are asking you like, how should I act? Did I do something wrong here? Blah, 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 blah. Like I was hoping this podcast by mistake might let people hear the information in like large quantities. So if there is any info you want to convey, in addition to that, like you said, you don't have to disown your family, you know, for me. Like if there's anything else you want to convey or any shit like that, spout it out and let us know on the pod here. I'd like of things you do not want to be happening or do want to be happening, just for your personal opinion and sake.
Things I don't. Well, just to piggyback on what Jazmyn was saying, yeah, or like what you were saying about your brother or family members or the men in your family. I've had, before I was out, I had instances with certain like male relatives where, you know, their opinions about, you know, the gay community or opinions about how they move or live or, you know, I didn't agree with or didn't like. And I still just chose to like, I you know, I didn't it's like, I'm not gonna disown you. You're still my cousin.
Right.
I just know how to deal with you from now on. I just we'll never really kick it. We'll just cross paths
Right.
at a
Right.
family gathering. I'll say hi to you for 2 seconds and then keep it moving, like that kind of thing. Because it's like, if these people are already set in their ways and they are refusing to see your outlook, it's like disowning them is not going to make them see the error of their ways. You just are going to go the rest of your life not talking to this person.
Right. It's just it's just
Right.
protecting your mental health. That's like what
Yeah, it's just a
I'm
protection of
like,
your mental health.
I can't hear this.
Right. It's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like, if you need that to protect your sanity, then by all means.
Right.
But to answer what you just said, or what I don't want to see or don't want to happen, I just really don't want. Yeah, I'm a little tired of that. I need white friends who mean well to stop asking me how they can be better white people to black people. It's like this. It's not. Because when you do that, it becomes again our responsibility.
Right.
And we carry, and I feel like black people as a collective carry so much of the weight and burden of this country. That is a fact. So when your well-meaning, or I'd like to think well-meaning white friends approach you and they're like, how can we be better? How can we do this? How can we? It's like, not, it's, I know you mean well, but you're putting the responsibility and the weight on me again to teach you how to be. It's like, we have Google, we have books, we have history, we have all of these tools that you can take to teach yourself. When black people, when we were kids, when me and Jazmyn were kids and we had to learn how to navigate in the white world, we didn't reach out to our white friends and go, hey, how do we navigate your white world? We learned in the house. We were taught in our house by our parents. My mom taught me how to navigate around white people in terms of making them feel comfortable so they don't feel scared or intimidated or ways. And they did it not to make white people feel safe around us, but to make us feel safe around them.
Exactly.
So that's the one thing I kind of like, if any white person watching this, that's just, if they can take away from that, just please just educate yourselves.
Yeah.
You know, like, I can't be this person who teaches you how to unlearn some of the biases and ignorances that you may have carried around in your life. You have to do that homework for yourself. Right. That's how those are the steps you have to take to become a better ally or a better, quote unquote, you know, support system to your black friends. Because by asking your black friends to do these things for you, you're no longer a support system. You're now, once again, counting on your black friend to support you.
Yeah. And you're draining the emotional energy, which is like, and I,
exactly.
And it's like, there's a little like irony here in doing this in general and asking you this, of course I see, but at the same point, I think of like, I'm hoping that just hearing stories that you guys tell, like from your perspective of even just maybe nobody has heard, oh, we had to learn how to navigate white culture before. And I'm like, maybe hearing that will help them be like, and, you know, me included, everybody step out of themselves and stop putting the pressure back on the other person to teach you how to act. Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah.
So, we had to learn how to, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Chaz.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, we had to, that was something that just like every black person in America had to learn. And so it's like, if we had to do the homework, then why can't you?
Yeah,
right.
You know, because in hindsight, it's like, when, you may mean well, but when you put that responsibility on us, it's you once again running away from the responsibility of unlearning, changing your perspective, teaching yourself.
Right.
You
going
know,
through the work of it,
so
like, and just like
going
jumping
through
ahead,
the work of it.
Jumping ahead. Give me a bullet pointed list of what I can do.
Right.
I don't have to take the time, that sort of thing.
Right. So I just like just don't say don't say you want to do the work and are willing to do the work if you're not willing to do the work.
Yeah.
So that's just what I have to say on that.
That's fair. Got anything to add to that, Jazmyn?
I mean, it's just I have a couple of videos about it. I remember one Black guy commented on one of the videos I made about not asking Black people to educate you on what you should be doing as a white person, or even a person of color who's not Black, to support the Black community. He was like, "Oh, I'm always willing to help," and I said, "Oh, well, we have a volunteer." We have a Black volunteer who would like to educate you guys. And then he was even deleting comments. I'm like, no, you said you was going to volunteer to do this. Now you deleting comments, because it is exhausting.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, if I have one of my best friends is a white dude. If he called me and he was like, Jazz, have I always been a good friend to you? I'm probably going to give him some, my honest feedback. He has always been a good friend to me, but I would probably tell him, well, give him some feedback, because it's about proximity. So if I know, and he knows he's one of my bestest friends in the whole world, right? But if I'm at work with you, we don't kick it like that. If you have to hit me on the DMs on Instagram, you probably shouldn't be asking me. And if you don't have anybody close to you like that, then you should take a look at your own circle and why you don't have a close group of diverse friends for somebody that you can come to and have an intimate conversation in proximity to you. And then also watch there's some Netflix doc. This is just low hanging fruit right here.
Yeah.
For you to go and watch a few documentaries, and then maybe you explore a little bit more. Maybe you want to pick up a book, or maybe you want to go on YouTube, and maybe you want to start listening to a Black podcast, or, just exposing yourself to different forms of media like that are just very, very easy ways to hear about somebody else's experience, Yeah, I think that most of the time when, I think about your brother, just when you say, oh, I'm not privileged, I think a lot of the white people that I even grew up with say, I wasn't rich. They think that privilege equals having money and having a very easy life growing up. And they don't think of it.
And not having to work hard, or getting handed things to them.
Right.
It's that's not what's being said, but you have to acknowledge that the system was built in your favor. Yeah. And that in itself is the privilege,
So
yeah.
But to your point too about the proximity thing, I think that's a great point about just because even in itself, reaching out to the one Black person you can think of through the DMs about it is you're also assuming every Black person has the same opinion on what they want to be done or what needs to be done. You know what I mean? It's I even learned the hard way seeing posting about Breonna Taylor trying to keep it trending, that when somebody mentioned, don't turn her into a meme, don't make a funny quip and then add it, because that's commodifying this person. I was like, you're fucking so right. And it's something that I was just thinking, oh, this is just a way to repeat it. But it's no, you're absolutely right. But I'm sure there's people that disagree with that and think it's totally fine. But it's even that in itself just goes to show there isn't one right answer. It's a learning, a watching, a hearing different stories and putting yourselves in people's shoes and saying I've never been afraid, as a woman, I've been afraid to be out at night because I don't want to get raped, but I've never been afraid that the cop is going to fucking shoot me if my hands are not on the steering wheel. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely it's a day-to-day thing that you have to learn a new thing every day and still keep making mistakes. Because I know I even keep making them as somebody who's trying really hard, so yeah, I think those are all good suggestions. If there's nothing else you guys want to add right now, we can pivot to a high note and you can talk about some of your work and share your your social media stuff and all that, so that the listeners know where to find all your stuff.
Cool.
Okay, go ahead, Chaz.
No, go ahead. I audibly said but with nothing ready. I said you know how you say out loud.
The yellow lit up. It's your turn.
Okay.
I know. I saw it light up. I was like, oh no. I just audibly said loud. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you can follow me on Instagram at JAZMYNJW. You can follow me on TikTok, as long as we have it in the US, at the same handle. I also have a YouTube channel, comedian Jazmyn W. And then I also have a podcast called Colored couch conversations, where I have intimate conversations with women of color on my couch specifically. So we talk about everything from women to inspire us, being a woman, racism, and trending topics and stuff like that. So that's how you can keep up.
Awesome. And I'll put all this stuff in the show notes too. So Chaz, what do you got?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Polly Pocket Negro. Yes, you heard that right. Because every time I tell people my Instagram handle, they're like, "Wait, what?" I'm like,
It's so funny.
Yeah. That started out as a joke. When I first started doing stand up, a few comics used to like jokingly say that to me about my size, because for anyone at home, you can't tell as I'm sitting on my bed, I'm very short and small in stature. And so it was this running joke about me being like a Polly Pocket doll, and then I just added the Negro at the end. And now it's funny too, because now when like white people ask me for my Instagram handle, you can see them visibly either like chuckle or they get very uncomfortable because they're like, I don't want to say it back, or they give me their phone because they want me to put it in. So
yes,
like if I type Negro, my phone is gonna get flagged.
Yeah, they get so nervous. I'm like, it's like if you said it, I wouldn't. It's fine. There's no. You didn't throw the A or ER at the end, so we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
So,
say it in Spanish. Make them feel more comfortable.
No more making people feel more comfortable.
Oh, right.
Make us all uncomfortable. Yeah. Like, I think that's a good start. White people, let's all be a little more fucking uncomfortable.
Facts.
Yeah.
So on Instagram, Polly Pocket Negro. On Twitter, scarter724. Right now I'm just doing a lot of screenwriting, so that stuff isn't up for display because that's a lot of stuff happening in the background. But as far as my comedy, you can literally find it on YouTube or some random. A lot of shows I've been on, they just post clips of mine, or you could. I have a Facebook page solely dedicated to my stand-up. It's just Chaz Carter. I'm gonna go there.
Awesome. And I'll find I'll find all this stuff and I'll put it all in the notes too. I hope people look at this stuff, damn it, because I spent a lot of time putting these links in there. And yeah, guys, I'm looking forward to us getting to get back on stage again. Will be awesome. In the meantime, maybe I don't know if you guys are doing Zoom shows. I'm not, but maybe we'll see each other if the world doesn't end. Yay, good for you guys. I'm like the only asshole that's like still like holding.
They suck.
Because I feel like if I go do it, then I'm going to end up having to produce one because people are already nagging me about it. I'm like, you do it. You produce one. Damn it. Get it. But
they
suck.
They're very awkward. They're super awkward. The timing is weird. It's like, I'm not gonna lie, I did two that were like super, super fun. But it was just because like the way they were set up, they like ensure that it, but like not to say the other ones weren't fun, they were just like, it's just not the same. It's not.
What's the ones that have been popping up where like people are on a stage and like the screens are all around them? Is that like a green screen thing or is that like an actual place? Because I've seen a couple of those and I'm like, maybe I would do that because it's like you're on a stage and then you can hear everybody. Because one of the things I've heard about the Zoom shows is that everything's muted, which like sounds like just my nightmare of just hoping like that they're not like silent laughers that you can't see their face, like I want to see like loud laughers if I can't fucking hear them.
You're essentially just talking into the ether and then they're like having to look for response. And it's sometimes too, also if your internet connection doesn't want to like work right that day, you might like say you might say a joke and it'll be like a glitch or delayed and then people are like,
oh Lord.
Like,
everybody wear a mask so we can get back on stage again. Please.
Oh my God.
I know, right? Please.
Damn it.
Seriously. Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, thank you guys so much for talking to me today. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you guys out in the open soon at some point.
In the world.
2021.
Breathing real.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
2021.
All right, guys. Thanks again. And I'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Have a good one. Bye guys.